Do you have an American dream or are you living it?
Chinelas is also used to discipline our kids.
Is there a place that you should not go in Philippines?
There's many places you shouldn't go.
What do you think of Americans?
I'm gonna make people upset in the Philippines, but...
They just like jump out?
Uh-huh.
Oh, that sounds safe. What has been your proudest moment?
Proudest moment.
I'm here in the studio with Lala Baker from Philippines. Welcome to the show and thank you for visiting me.
Thank you.
So is Lala your actual name or is that a nickname you chose for Americans to pronounce?
The latter. That is my nickname. Oftentimes I get called Layla. I answer to that too.
Okay, Layla.
Layla is how people read it sometimes. But it's L-A-L-A. There's no space. The second L is a small L. But my real first name is Henriella. Henry is my dad. Ella is my mom.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Henriella?
Henriella, yeah.
Wow, I've never heard a name like that before.
Neither. There's Henrietta. But I haven't heard anybody with that
name.
Henriella name.
Yes, yes. Okay, so let's start with your background.
Okay.
Tell me a little bit about your life in Philippines and where exactly in Philippines are you from?
Yes, so my name is Lala Baker and I was born and raised in the Philippines, but I've also spent of my years growing up in Japan. Yeah.
Wow, multicultural episode over here.
Yes.
I love this.
Hey, there you go, multicultural episode. I'm predominantly, raised in the Philippines. And I'm a first-generation immigrant. And I live in a city called Cainta Rizal in the Philippines. It's outside of Manila, but busy area.
So it's a big city.
Not necessarily. I think Philippines is overpopulated, so we can kind
So
of...
every city is big.
Yes, every city is too small for the big population.
Yes,
gosh.
absolutely. So how old were you when you decided to move to America? Where did that came from?
Yes, okay, so I first came into the U.S. in 2007. It was through my college internship. I went to the Philippines, St. Paul University in Quezon City. Shout out.
Shout out to them.
And I did hospitality and tourism there.
Awesome.
So there were agencies that partnered with our school that says, we are offering international experience for students who wants to see life and work abroad. And there's many different countries. There were Singapore, UK, Australia, and many others. But I chose US.
Why?
I've always been fascinated, Ekaterina. I think United States has... Well, first of all, I wanted to speak the language. Like growing up, watching these movies, I'm like, gosh, if I can talk like that. I still don't.
Disney movies?
Yes, Disney movies or like, The Parent Trap. Lindsay Lohan.
Yes, of course,
Watch
classic.
that over and over.
Of
classic.
course.
But I said, if I can speak like them, I think it's a beautiful language. It's a beautiful culture and lifestyle. So I've always been fascinated.
And now you do. You speak perfect English. You barely have any accent.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't hear anything.
Okay, thank you. That's kind of you to say.
So did you had any expectations when you were moving here? Did you know that this is how your life is going to look?
I did not. I was in my 20s. I celebrated my 21st birthday during my internship in Minnesota. So that was fun. But I did not necessarily have any expectations because I was younger. I was more driven by the excitement of the new adventure. Where are we going to go? Who are we going to meet? What am I going to see? Kind of thing. So there's not a set, this is what's going to happen and this is what needs to happen. I didn't have that.
So how was your first couple of months in America?
Enjoyable. I ate a lot of corn dogs. I microwaved a lot of corn dogs because these are not the typical food you eat back home.
Yeah.
So I'm like, corn dogs and Snickers bar, let's go. For breakfast. But it was very enjoyable. There was a lot of adventures, spontaneous trips that, and I guess at that phase, to me, American Dream is taking a picture in New York. Here's Statue of Liberty. Here's
Classic.
Universal Studios.
Angelina Jolie.
Yes, look at me. I'm living the American Dream. That was the concept. It's very shallow, but in the beginning, that was how that looked like.
So how did you face any challenges when you moved here?
Yeah. When I moved here, So after internship, I went back to school in the Philippines, finished college, and then moved back with a working visa. And I was heavily reliant on the transportation to get to work. So I worked in the culinary department in Branson at this point, and the shift starts at 5 a.m. and you are off maybe 3 p.m., whatever. And if you're not at the dock to meet the drivers right on the dot, you have to wait maybe 2 more hours, 3 more hours before the next round of service picks you up. So that was like, how do I navigate through this, you know? And I had a phone, but it's nothing like the phones today. Now I'm thinking, I'm like, well, if I had the same phone, I would have been fine waiting there.
Yes.
But
you could entertain yourself at least.
But that was challenging to be able to get to point A to point B.
So you mentioned that you end up in Branson, Missouri, and we completely missed out on the question of how did you end up here locally? Because I feel like every immigrant that I spoke to so far moved somewhere bigger first, and then they moved to a quieter area called Midwest. So where did you end up first?
It was an agency in the Philippines that it's like a employment acquisition group that's like, hey, wherever we need service and labor, we send Filipinos there. So, and my degree was in hospitality. Branson, Hilton in Branson just opened, I think, at that time. So they were needing all of these employees to support the tourism.
Okay, so you went straight to Branson.
Yeah.
How did you like this area? Is this what you expected America to look like?
It was, of course, I had experience before I went to Branson. I went to Minnesota and I did my American dream trips to New York and blah, blah, blah. So I've seen the other towns. When I get to Branson from the airport, the old airport back in 2008, the drive to Branson, I'm like, this is never ending. Like, where are we going? And this was in April. And, I was jet lagged, 27 hours trip. And I'm like, I want to see everything. I'm not going to take a nap. I'm going to see everything. And 20 minutes later, 30 minutes later, I'm like, I'm going to take a nap. The road never ends. And I'm like, okay.
And it's just trees and small, tiny houses and churches.
They had trees at that time in early April. But no, Branson has been good to me. This local area has been great to me. And this is home now, so.
But did you have any special moments in your early days in America that you were just like, oh my God, this is so cool. I'm so happy to be here.
Going back to, I didn't have much expectation of things. So to me, the liberty to work anywhere you want at that point and clock in for $7.25 was a dream. So I'm like, this is so cool. I can make as much money as I want when I want when I figured out my transportation. So
yes. How did you figure out your transportation, by the way?
So I figured Walmart sells bicycles. So
that's actually how I started too with my mom. We rode bicycles everywhere. We just loved it so much. We're like, we don't understand why people don't do it outside on the streets.
I'm unstoppable now. I can have 4 jobs. Watch
yes,
me.
Absolutely.
But that was a cool part where the realization of you can't mess this up. You can do whatever you want.
So let's talk a little bit about American Dream now.
Okay.
This concept is what every immigrant is searching for when they move here.
Okay.
How did you think about it when you were moving here? What was it in your opinion? What is an American dream for you?
So an American dream to me is becoming who you want to be and doing what you want to do regardless of your background, of your history, of your ethnicity. If you are clear on what you want to do and you match your action and your efforts towards that goal, you can do it.
I feel like this should be a quote for every American Dream episode. Yes, I will write it down in cursive.
No, but it's real.
It's true.
I think about this a lot, of course, in preparation of this podcast, but I'm also talking to my friends, and I've had dinner with my friends yesterday, and they're from here, and they realize, we perhaps may not have the American dream. To us, it's just a dream because we're from here.
Yes, so I always like to ask Americans, do you have an American dream or are you living it?
Yes.
That's the question for American people.
Exactly. And to them, it's like, it's just a dream for us. And
yes.
but American dream just sounds more powerful, and I'm very grateful that I have dreamed the American dream and that we're living it. Mm-hmm. We're living it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. What is your American dream?
My American dream is really be able to live and design a lifestyle that you want for you. Mm-hmm. That's really it. Without having any external factors of, hey, you grew up poor. So, and I'm going to make people upset in the Philippines, but there's that connotation of, if you grew up poor, you'll be forever poor. Mm-hmm. If you grew up rich, you're going to be all right. Mm-hmm. And we don't have that here, I don't feel. Mm-hmm. Of course, there are specific careers that you can't just be a doctor. You got to go to school.
Yeah.
But for the most part, you can climb up the ranks if you would just show up.
Yes, absolutely.
100% of you.
Mm-hmm. And did that perception of the American dream change over time, or is that what you always thought?
I don't think it has changed necessarily. I don't think it has changed. If anything, there's more lessons on. I understand that it is earned. It's not, you went to America, you're going to be good. Not necessarily. You have to match the efforts and the work ethic and the determination to get there.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's talk about American people a little bit. You said that you have a lot of American friends now. Yeah. What do you think of Americans?
This is a loaded question because we're all human beings. They just happen to be here speaking this language naturally, but I think the mindset is very different. I think there's very practicality from the culture that I'm from. We are very reserved people. We don't really express what we think. If we are told one way, you're going to do it. There's no ifs, no buts. But here, I think the Americans have more liberty to speak
freedom.
Their minds. Yes, which I think is a great thing. Everybody is entitled to their opinions and whatnot. But in my culture, there's more hesitation to be like, I don't want you to know what I think because I don't want you to think X, Y, Z of me. Mm-hmm.
So how did American people welcome you in the country when you just moved here?
Very welcoming, very friendly. I have not encountered any, and I'm sure there's like instances, but there's not enough instance to matter or for me to recall a time when I'm like, that wasn't nice. Everything was
So you only had good people around you throughout your entire experience?
Yes, and I think that's important. You surround yourself.
And it's been how long now since you moved here? Completely?
Since 2008. I don't know the math.
Me neither.
17 years.
17 years.
Let's call it that.
Yes,
Maybe 16, I don't know.
So what about stereotypes? Has anyone said anything to you about Philippines that you were just like, this is ridiculous and this is not true at all? Or maybe, oh my God, how do they know this?
Everybody here, everybody is a big word, but we are all perceived as nurses. Like we all work in the medical field.
Okay.
There is a lot of nurses, Filipino nurses, even here locally, especially here in Springfield area. And I am so proud of them. And they are one of the brightest people I know. But we are perceived to all be in that medical field because during my time in college, it was a high demand to hire nurses from the Philippines to the U.S. So I think I had like 10, 12 girlfriends and everybody went to nursing school. And I'm like, I can't do that. This is not a nurse. Like I don't do textbooks. I don't do well with testing. So I said, I'm going to do hospitality. But there's a very high demand for that. So here, oftentimes when I meet somebody, they're like, are you also a nurse? I'm not a nurse.
So share a little bit about your professional journey here in the U.S. Who are you working as here and what is your career?
Yes. So when I first got here, I was in culinary department. I was in hospitality. Initially, when I got here as an intern, as a student, I worked at a beautiful resort in Minnesota, Lutsen Resort. It's in the Lake Superior, just gorgeous, to learn the hospitality business. And then I came back and I was in the culinary department. I've managed restaurants. I've worked in food a lot and customer service. But 7 years ago, 7-ish, I made a switch and now I'm a real estate professional here in Springfield area.
Yes. So how is that going for you? Is that your dream job in America?
It's the best job ever.
Yeah.
I don't see myself doing anything else. I really love what I do, and I'm blessed to be doing what I like.
Yes.
Because I think that's important.
That's great. It's a lot of flexibility in schedule.
You would think.
No?
That's a misconception.
Really?
Yeah, I guess a lot of people, and I laugh because when people just get licensed, I'm like, why did you get your license? Because we have flexibility. I'm like, good luck.
I guess that makes sense because you are dependent on other people's schedule all the time. So
100%.
you have a schedule still.
100%. We want to service our clientele, so we are at the mercy of when are they free, and we want to accommodate everybody. So flexibility, yes, I see that. I mean, I can take a Tuesday off if I want to, but there's also Sundays and open houses and listing appointments that you attend regardless of what's going on with your life.
So how do you maintain that busy schedule that is going on in your work life with your personal achievements here in America?
Balanced, not 100%. I strive for it to be balanced. It's not 100% there, but I am not in the position where I can't complain. I think that's a good way to say it. I can't complain. I have the liberty to join my son in his football practice. I do the Friday Night Lights games, and I work and I max that out when I can. And I think it works out.
And I also did a little bit of stalking before we did this
You're a
interview
stalker.
on your Facebook page.
Me too.
And you did? Good. We found each other. And I know that you're married, happily married.
Yes.
So share a little bit about your husband, because I saw that he is an American guy.
Yeah.
So how is that? I have an American boyfriend too. So we have a multicultural relationships, both of us.
Yes.
So share a little bit about that. How is that multicultural relationship? You said you have a son.
Yes.
Also, how do you maintain that, your inner Filipino root? And how do you share it with your child and with your husband?
Well, they're learning a lot. They have learned a lot. They laugh at me a lot. They they think some things are ridiculous, but they respect it. We're very superstitious people, so we like to knock on wood, like silly things like
Same.
that. We
100%.
Oh gosh, if there's no wood, I'm gonna do this randomly at the parking lot. Don't mind me. But they do respect it. We have. I'll just give you an example. We bought a home and it was non-negotiable to me to move in without the elements of salt water and rice. Like, don't move in anything until you move these three things for prosperity, safety, and health.
So you have to move those things in the house, let them sit there.
First things to bring in the home.
Oh, just first thing to bring in.
Yes.
They don't have to stay there for
Yes. So,
days.
we're planning to move tomorrow. Maybe today we'll bring in the rice, the salt, and the water, get that ready.
Oh, that's
type
an interesting
things.
tradition. I've never heard of anything like
Yeah.
that before. So what about your language and maybe some traditions that you bring with you from Philippines to the table with your family here in America?
I probably should be teaching my son Tagalog. That's my native language, but I don't. I don't know why. Maybe not to confuse him. At least say New Year's, I have to have my 12 round fruits, and my husband and my son are ready to. They know that. They're like, all right, New Year's coming. Mom needs this big fancy platter of different kinds of round fruits. Just little things like that.
So you still keep up with your Filipino
Yes,
heritage.
I'm very in touch. Yes.
And it's just you here, right? Your family is still in Philippines.
Yep.
Do they want to move here?
So it's really my sister. When I talk about family, my sister, I have uncles and aunts. I don't think it's in the plans, and also it's not as easy, to sponsor somebody and say, hey, I have a family member. It's quite a process. It's a very involved one. So
Yes, absolutely. So speaking of people from Philippines, what advice would you give to other people from Philippines, not necessarily just your family, in pursuing their American dream here and moving here?
find a mentor. Find somebody you want to emulate when you get here. I think that's one of my regrets when I got here. It's like, how come nobody... Of course, I educate a lot of my clients about this is whatever, but I'm like, how come nobody told me about these things, when I move here? I feel like I missed out on that. So for anybody moving here wants to pursue the American dream in whichever profession they choose, pick a person, someone you want to tag along with, shadow them, learn from them, absorb it.
And before we step into a break, looking back at your journey, let's talk about that. What has been your proudest moment?
Proudest moment. There's many. Proudest moment. So I became a citizen. That was a big one.
Huge.
Started a family here. That's another one. Have a great career, family life.
So has there been a point where you're just like, this is it. I made it. This is the American dream.
You know, we are homeowners. That is a big one. But really, I can't think of that just the one thing. If anything, having the relationships we have is the most priceless thing.
Welcome back. You're listening to the American Dream Podcast. I'm here in the studio with gorgeous Lala from Philippines. Welcome and thank you for visiting me. And we're about to take a beautiful trip to your home country.
Perfect.
Yes. So when was the last time you were home?
2020, early 2020.
Okay, so just 4 years ago.
Yeah.
So you still have the fresh memories and experiences of going back home. So you probably have good recommendations of foods to try, restaurants to visit, and places to see. So let's start with a simple question. What do you believe makes the Philippines a unique and captivating destination for the Americans?
Okay, so we are an archipelago of over 7,600 islands. If that gives you any idea.
I've seen pictures. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, so the beach, all of that. But saying that, I think it's a unique, captivating area for tourists because of the people. And we have a tourism slogan. It's been years. So I don't know if they still use it, but it says it's more fun in the Philippines. But you see that everywhere. You see it in the airport. You see it in the bus things, like it's everywhere. It's more fun in the Philippines. So, but predominantly, I would say the water. You know, I mean, 7,600 islands, you're surrounded with water. And can't give you the exact number of islands because high tide, low tide, it all plays in. It's all a factor, but...
Absolutely. Yeah. So which island do you recommend for tourists to travel to? Where should they go in Philippines?
Boracay. Boracay. Boracay, yes, is gorgeous. And of course, I have not been in all the beaches in the world, but I am convinced that's the most beautiful beach in the world. So I would recommend people to go there. Palawan is another popular one, but there's very many, but it's really gorgeous. The water, the food, the people.
So let's start with pricing first. How expensive is it to travel to your homeland?
Okay, so I would say service is not expensive. I'm learning that the goods are now catching up with inflation, but I can tell you to fly there is probably $2,000 nowadays.
Which is kind of a generic price for traveling anywhere outside of the US, it seems like.
Okay.
Yes, that's what people told me. I mean, the past couple of episodes, the guy from Italy said the same thing. The guy from South Africa said the same thing. So it's like $1,800 when it's off season. And speaking of seasons, when is the good time to go to Philippines? How is the climate there?
Yeah, so I would recommend anyone who wants to visit. I think in the February months, it's much cooler. It's a very tropical country. You get sun or rain. It's hot. It's humid. So if you are searching for more cooler weather, go February. Towards November, December, January, February, I'd say. Avoid summer months. It's just not. It's hard.
So I have a random question about Philippines, and this is off topic a little bit. I am currently watching the Survivor show, and they're in Philippines right now, and they all have like bug bites, and they're all like seeing the scorpions and like weird, things. So how bad are bugs in Philippines? Are they just being dramatic?
It's a tropical country, Ekaterina, so they are everywhere. Just like here in the summer months, you'll find them everywhere. Of course, depending on geographical location where they're at in the mountains, or if it's, more exotic area, then yeah, there will be mosquitoes. but it's there.
Okay. Is there a place that you should not go in Philippines?
There's many places you shouldn't go. In my opinion. No. I'm going to make people mad. But no, Philippines is a beautiful country, but just like any other place, there are areas that as a tourist, I wouldn't recommend you to go. I wouldn't go there.
What are the areas for people to know and look into?
No, I can't be very specific about that, I guess, but there's like big markets that you just know if you're by yourself, you don't know the area, you don't know anyone, you don't speak the language, you're obviously a foreigner, I wouldn't recommend that.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. So speaking of the language and people, how do you travel around Philippines? Do you need to know somebody first? Is this a travel agent that will help you out with your traveling experience, or should you travel by yourself but with maybe someone else?
I would recommend the first one, to have somebody you know, have a travel agent. It's unfortunately not a destination where you can DIY your travel plans. I don't recommend that. I wouldn't even do it. I would have something booked, something planned, just so you're safe and convenience and saving time, because you will find yourself in many lines, in many tourist traps. So I would recommend booking something with a legitimate travel agency.
And the language is a question too. So do you need to know a little bit? You said you speak, what language is it?
Tagalog, Tagalog. Tagalog. That's our native.
Tagalog.
Yes.
Tagalog.
Yes.
Okay. So should you know a little bit of Tagalog, or is that the only language in Philippines?
It is not. I should have researched how many dialects we have. We have plenty.
Oh, God.
As in, I grew up in a household, and if an aunt visits from a different part of the country, we won't understand each other. Yes.
What?
It is wild. I don't know why they do that. But it's kind of cool because, and even meeting Filipinos here in Springfield, I'm like, where are you from? I'm from this place. I'm from this place. And then all of a sudden we communicate and I'm like, let's switch to English because we will understand each other better.
Wow. So each island in Philippines have its own dialect, or each like region?
Yes, it's a regional basis thing. But I mean, we have certain words that are common and they sound the same, but they are not the same words. So bahay is house for me, Tagalog. And from different region, they say balay.
Balay?
Yeah, bahay versus balay. They mean the same thing. We're in the same country. We just call it differently.
Usually in this podcast, I ask people to teach me a little bit of their language, which you already started on. So teach me a little. Is there like a proverb or a fancy saying that is known only for people who speak Tagalog that you can teach me? Kind of like Americans say howdy or what's up.
You can say mabuhay.
Mabuhay?
Mabuhay, Mabuhay. Mabuhay.
What does that mean?
So the literal translation of mabuhay is be alive, be lively. But it is a word we use to greet people in a more
like boring
formal...
people, or just anyone?
I think in a more formal fashion, traditional fashion. Like you'll see it in airports as they welcome you. I guess that's the equivalent of welcome. Mabuhay, Philippines. Like welcome. But the literal translation is to be alive. It wouldn't make sense, but just know that's a common term that we use to welcome people, and you hear it everywhere.
So it's mabuhay. Then I learned how to say a house, which is balalay.
Balay, yes.
Balay.
Or bahay.
Balay, bahay. And then how to say goodbye or
Paalam.
see you later. Bala?
Paalam.
Paalam.
Paalam. Paalam.
Paalam.
Paalam. Yep.
Is there any other slang terms? Or maybe curse words that you can teach me?
Oh, yeah. We'll teach you that off air. No, we are heavily influenced with our Spanish culture as well. So there's a lot of terms that sound Spanish, but they're not. So when we say, how are you? We say, kamusta?
Ah, yeah, that's kind of Spanish-ish.
Yeah.
Kamusta?
Yeah, I think they say "cómo estás" or
Yes.
something.
Yes.
But we say "kamusta," so we just adapt to a lot of these kind of languages. Yeah.
So now let's talk a little bit about food. Do you adapt any Spanish food in Philippines as well, since you adopt a little bit of the language?
lot.
And what are the foods to try in Philippines? Is there anything exotic that everyone should experience while going there?
So the first part, yes, we are heavily influenced by Spanish food. I can name so many. Mechado is one. It's a Spanish dish that I'm sure we try to make our own, but it's a tomato sauce-based dish with beef and potatoes, kind of like roast here, I guess.
Oh, okay.
Pot roast.
Okay.
But that's one example. And the second question is there something I would recommend to try? If you feel adventurous and you're in the Philippines, go try the street foods. We have an array of street food options, whether it be protein, a barbecue on a stick, or something, fruits. We are big on mangoes. We are mangoes and bananas and coconut. That's our thing. Pineapples. And the fruits are just the sweetest back home.
What do you mean when you say protein? Is it like scorpions?
Not necessarily. It could be it's organs of beef, protein. I don't know. But you can be a straight up pork belly on a stick. Straight.
Just like intestines?
Yeah, but we're not the only culture that's doing that.
I've heard about that.
Yes.
I just think it wouldn't be my personal option when I would go to the, market and I would be like,
no.
Pig intestines.
Yes.
I want to eat that.
No, it's an acquired taste. It's a cultural thing. Like if I didn't grow up there and you tell me that, I'm like, I'll stick with chicken.
So you've never tried anything weird like that, like pig intestines or...
I grew up eating them.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a street food. It's a staple thing. And again, when I tell my son, and there's a Filipino restaurant here in Springfield, shout out Purple Panda.
Oh,
yes.
Purple Panda.
Purple
Okay.
Panda in Ozark. So they offer all these things now. So
wow.
Yeah, and what interests me is I asked the owner, do you cater more to the Filipinos? And she's like, no, people who are ordering these food are from here. I'm like, huh. Interesting.
See, you can never win with food here in the Ozarks. Like, I've interviewed a guy from Italy, and he said that Americans are very picky about Italian food here, and all they want is Alfredo and cheesecake, or not cheesecake, creme brulee all the time. And then those same American people here in the Ozarks go and buy pig intestines.
It's very subjective. Very.
You can never win with that. All right. So we're talking a little bit about food, and I want to know if you have any restaurant recommendations with, let's say, a beautiful experience.
Yes. Okay. So there is a restaurant. Gosh, I wish I researched the name. I've been there plenty of times. I can't remember. Maybe you'll put this on the comment on your YouTube post. But you literally are dining in the waterfalls. So there's waterfalls in the backdrop, and then tables set up, bare feet.
Which city is it?
It's in Luzon. It's in the region of Luzon. It's not Manila. But
maybe if you can just look up a waterfall restaurant in Luzon, you'll be able to see
Google
it.
Anymore. Yes, I feel terrible for not researching that. But that was a great experience. There is another one in Bohol where you ride this nipahat. It's like a house made with coconut husk, and it's floating as you dine in. It's an experience.
It is. Yeah. That's beautiful. Is there any other experiences or maybe interesting traditions to witness in Philippines?
Boodle fight is what we called, boodle fight is a traditional way of eating, which entails no plates, no silverware. It is banana leaves that we put in heat to emit all the aroma and kill germs. And then on that boodle, so long table, and then you have the banana leaves, and then you put rice in the center because rice is everything. And then you put all the protein, whatever that may be to you, pork, chicken, seafood, crab, just a beautiful display. Fruits, watermelon, mangoes, and then family and friends gather around it, bare hands, clean hands, and share the meal. And so you just kind of grab a portion of a little bit of this, put it in front of you, a little bit of that. But it's a way of sharing. COVID has a way of making us stop doing a lot of that, but that is a fun experience. I do it in my home when I have guests over. My husband knows how to host it. He knows how to set it up. We're a pro at Boodle Fight.
So where can you witness that? Is that just at the restaurants, or do you have to know a family in Philippines to witness that authentic experience?
I know Purple Panda in Ozark will offer it if you request it.
So it's here locally?
Yes, you can do it here.
But what about Philippines?
In the Philippines, you can do that in your home on a Sunday because everybody's off and that's your traditional way of eating. You can do that. There's also a restaurant that strictly is a Boodle Fight restaurant.
See, when I heard Boodle Fight, I thought you would say you pick up a piece of pork intestines and throw it at your family member across the table.
Boodle Fight!
And try to catch it with your mouth.
No, far from that. But
So you mentioned also a little bit about fruits. That your country is big on fruits and it's all delicious. So is it mostly fruits that you guys eat when it comes to sweets? Or do you also have desserts that you can recommend for tourists to try?
We have desserts. We have all of that. So fruits are mainly sweeter. I don't know if it's because of the tropical
climate.
Yeah, that they're just delicious. But we do have popular dessert. Again, a lot of them are adopted from our Spanish culture. So leche flan is a popular one that I can think of. We do a fruit salad, which I think my husband still scratches his head. Like, how is that a dessert? Just different baked goods. We are big on rice dessert. So whether that's a rice cake or rice pudding, we do a lot of that.
Okay, so let's move on to transportation in Philippines. You said that when you moved to America, transportation was a big problem for you. You had to wait, for transportation for hours without any entertainment. And so what about Philippines? How do you transport yourself in your homeland?
Okay, there's a lot of public transportation. It is not very common for each member to own a vehicle. So one popular one is jeepneys, and they can look it up. And what that is imagine a school bus, but there's nothing in the very back of this school bus. It's open. That's how people go in and out.
They just jump out? Oh, that sounds safe.
Very. And then instead of the seats going this way with the school bus, it's like this way. So people are facing each other and we have seats here, there are seats there, and we face each other. And behind me is open, and then back there is open, and the driver is right there.
So that's for more authentic experience. And if you want to jump out of the bus.
If you're adventurous, go for it.
And if you want a little bit of extreme in your blood to adrenaline. What about some safe transportation? Maybe rent a taxi or rent a car?
I don't know car rentals very well when I live there anyway. Well, I have reserved vans or whatever when I'm on a trip, but taxis are very much available. It's just you have to be careful too. And this is why I say I recommend travel agencies. That way you don't get taken advantage of.
Oh, so it's the taxi drivers that can take advantage of you if they see that you're foreign and you don't speak the language?
Yeah, they will contract the ride versus going through the meter system. They'll say, you want to go point A to point B, that's going to be X amount of Filipino peso versus going, can we use the meter rating?
Interesting. I actually was just about to ask if the taxi drivers can be the ones showing you country, but it seems like
I wouldn't recommend it.
It would be the opposite.
I will have a legitimate travel agent to show me around.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you mentioned a little bit about currency too. What is the currency in Philippines?
Yeah, it's Filipino pesos.
Okay. What is the exchange? Do you know?
It is, last time I checked, was about 55 Filipino peso per $1.
So just going there for a weekend, how much do you think a tourist can spend? Let's say they only have $100 with them to spend in Philippines. Would they be okay to experience everything we just mentioned? Going to a restaurant, maybe for two people to just, have an authentic experience, take a taxi driver and go somewhere to a different...
If it's a weekend, your $100 will go a long way. Now, don't go stay in this private resort or anything like that.
Yes, yeah.
It's not going to work. But if it's just a traditional, hey, I just want to experience street foods and I want to have somebody tour me around, pay for restaurant meals, I think it's very affordable. It'll go a long way.
What about places to stay in Philippines? Where tourists should stay? Is hostels safe, or should they stay in like a luxury villa? Hotels?
I can only tell you where I stay, I suppose. I would not recommend hostel. Just different. Everybody has a different comfort level.
Yeah.
But I do like private resorts only because for safety. And you know that everybody that's there is there because they are also checked in, or, you don't see people that's there it shouldn't be there.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
A lot of safety things.
So what is the resort name? Can you name it?
Yeah, so Shangri-La in Boracay is one of my favorites. So they can look it up. Shangri-La Boracay is a gorgeous, gorgeous area. There's many other resorts there, but that's one that comes to mind.
Is it all-inclusive?
I believe when we were there, yeah. And it's just gorgeous. And they have their own transportation, like water transportation from when you get off the airport. So you're not in line, you're not waiting on anyone, and you're there. It's not crowded. It's just great experience.
Speaking of people, how would you describe Filipino hospitality?
Very hospitable. I think that's one thing that we are very known for. We're very welcoming, very respectful, very... always ready to help. I think I would say that.
And do Filipino people speak English if we were to go there for a traveling experience? Everyone speaks English?
Yeah, everyone is a big word, but majority of us speaks English. In fact, we are labeled the call center capital of the world, meaning they outsource a lot of call center jobs in the Philippines because we speak a lot of English.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about lesser known destinations and maybe a little gems of Philippines that you can tell and recommend people to visit. Something that tourists usually look over.
Yeah, so there is an island, and of course this is many, many years back. I haven't been back in a minute. Siargao Island is one island, and it's considered like a virgin beach destination because it's not a very touristy
it's not touristy
place at all. But I remember just sitting there, and it's a small island. I mean, you can walk the entire island, and you just sit there and you see tuna jumping, and I'm like, yes, this is paradise. But some things like that's not heavily advertised. Again, there's over 7,600 islands. You will find a quiet one that's, as long as you have a guide, somebody to guide you.
Absolutely. And what activities would you recommend for somebody who is an outdoor enthusiast? Is there bungee jumping or, mountain climbing or something like that?
We have those as well. We have zip lining. I don't think you can... jumping off of waterfalls. I didn't do my research again of how high it is, but just trust me when I say they're high. And you jump several. This is in Cebu. And I got to visit there with my sister, my brother-in-law, and my husband. And you literally jump off of these. I'll share you the video next time of these falls. They put helmet on you and a little floating gear, and they go 1, 2, 3, jump. Boom. Best experience ever.
So comparing to a house, how many floors is that waterfall?
Oh gosh, a building.
So 5, 6 floors?
Maybe more. And there's several of them. If you do this tour, they have a baby one that's depending on your comfort level.
That is just 4-floor building.
Yeah, that's cute. 1, 2, 3, jump. And then there's one that's are you ready? But
oh my gosh,
yeah.
I don't think I can. Have you ever done that?
Oh gosh, yes, I would do it again.
Seriously? I don't think I could ever do that. I feel like I would die.
I would do it again. It's just very liberating, I think, when you do that and you're like, I jumped off of that. It's very safe. I mean, safe is subjective too. But same area in Cebu, you can swim with a whale.
With a whale?
Yeah.
Wow. That sounds so beautiful. Everything you just shared to me about Philippines, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to pack my bags and just leave right now.
Let's do it.
So, What would you recommend to somebody who loves history and is there to witness historical destinations and monuments? Where should they go?
So I would recommend Ilocos Norte. That is in the northern part of the Philippines, and just old historic churches and markets, and there's a sand dune there. There's just a lot to see. But I've been there, so I can recommend that. I'm sure there's many others, but I would highly recommend Ilocos Norte.
Is there a way for a tourist to participate in any community events? Let's say there's like a marathon or something like that. If somebody wants to do that, it's not prohibited if you're a tourist, if you're not a citizen of the Philippines to do so?
I think they would love that.
What about churches? If you're interested to learn more about Filipino religion.
Yeah, so we are predominantly a Catholic country. So not everybody, but most of us are Catholics in religion. So, I mean, anybody can join any religion.
So you won't get kicked out if you're a foreign and you just are interested to see what it looks like inside, basically.
No, they welcome everybody.
Great. Okay. So are there any misconceptions about your homeland?
I think perhaps not a misconception, but more of an educational piece as far as safety is important, just as wherever you go. But I know I value that highly. So if anyone traveling, I would recommend visit the places. It's gorgeous. You'll have a great time. But safety comes first. So know the people that you are working with when you're there. Make sure you are safe.
Absolutely. And finally, before we step into a break, what is something that every tourist should bring with themselves after their traveling experience in the Philippines?
What they can bring here, a lot of people, I realize, brings, and I see this from gift shops, people are traveling and they have all these specialty candies made of, or fruits, whatever, mainly food. I can't think of an item that's like, okay, bring that because you came from the Philippines. A lot of food. A lot of
food, like little snacks, probably, obviously.
Yes.
You can't just bring pig intestines. You can buy it here.
Dried bananas, not intestines.
Welcome back to the American Dream podcast. I'm in the studio with Lala from the Philippines. And this half of the podcast, I always say it's my favorite one, and I'm putting my laptop away because we get to see fun items that remind my guest of their homeland, which in your case, it's the Philippines. That's where you come from. And you brought paper with you.
I did. Okay, so I did my homework, Ekaterina. You said bring 3 to 5 items, I think, that remind you of home. And I'm like, I'm not bringing them, but I will show you a picture of these 3 items. So my first item is a microphone. It's a karaoke microphone, okay? Because the Filipinos loves karaoke. We sing everywhere. You'll see karaoke machines everywhere. We sing in birthdays, we sing in funerals, we sing in weddings, we sing in baptismal, you name it. Nobody's shy about singing.
What?
Yes.
I never knew that.
Good to know now. I mean, it's a thing. And they create all these magic mics that helps your voice, and everybody's just all about their music and singing.
Oh, wow. Huge. Do you want to sing Happy Birthday with me?
No, thanks. But thanks for asking.
You don't sing?
In the bathroom,
In the bathroom with your microphone? Yes, but you don't sing just in karaoke bars here in Springfield?
Okay, so recently, there was a Filipino party hosted by Neurix. Shout out to Neurix. But they are a group of Filipino nurses here that are so very talented. They play instruments, and they just said one night, let's get together. And people sing. I sang there. But everybody's also drinking, so I wasn't shy. I'm like, they won't remember this tomorrow. We're good. But karaoke is a very big part of our culture. We will sing.
So do you have a mic that you brought with you from the Philippines?
I do not. Maybe I have a long time ago. It was obsolete technology, so I'm sure it's gone now. But it's a microphone with so imagine that microphone with digital buttons.
Yes.
Because there's a book. And then you see your song number is 5234. You put that on, and then it goes on the TV, and you start singing.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
We actually had a karaoke machine system too when I was little and lived in Russia. My family loved karaoke too.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, so I
Same
can totally
culture.
relate to that. Yes, yeah.
Yep.
So what is your next item? I see another photo and this is...
A flip-flop.
Yes,
okay?
of course.
It's a flip-flop, and we call it chinelas. T-S-I-N-E-L-A-S. Chinelas. And to me, this is a very powerful one because we wear flip-flops everywhere. My husband is like, are you really going to wear flip-flops out? Yes, we wear flip-flops everywhere. And I remember coming here, I have one pair of shoe and a flip-flop. I'm like, this is all I need. That in my dreams, we got this. So chinelas is used for that. Chinelas is also used to discipline our kids. However you want to use that.
So you throw it.
Throw it, hit them with it.
Yeah.
That's just the culture.
For kids and husband.
And husband, why not? Yeah, so I haven't tried it here yet. But it is a part of our culture. Like the mothers will be upset and you'll just see her remove her chinelas and she's like, where are you? Just threatening you.
I do that with my dog actually when it does something bad in my house. And I never knew that you guys do it on children. And
it is culture.
People. So do you have a special flip-flops that you brought with you from the Philippines?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have it anymore, but it's the one worthy of going to America, is you're coming with me.
Yes.
But apart from that, we also have different kids' games, or it's not a sport per se, but we use the chinelas to hit a can as a part of a game. So to me, that's a lot of symbolic things of why flip-flop is one of the things I chose.
Yes, absolutely.
Yep.
And moving on to the last item, it seems like.
The last one is a tamarind soup mix. So this is a staple food, like a comfort food for everybody. Wherever you go in any part of the world, you'll find this because there's a Filipino selling them because it's just absolutely part of our life. This is a soup mix. So you boil whatever protein you want, fish, pork, beef, and then you put this seasoning. It's a tamarind base. And you're instantly home.
What is tamarind?
Tamarind is a fruit that's more sour in spectrum, and it's just, I think Thai people use it a lot.
So it's like, So it's like a spice.
Yes.
Okay. And I see it's just a
That's
Knorr.
a brand. There's many others, but that's a big one that we use. But a lot of Filipinos traveling takes this with them just in case they get homesick. But I think it instantly cures your longing for home.
And you can buy every item that you just showed me off of Amazon. Can you buy Knorr off of Amazon, like
Yes.
this one specifically?
So we have a Filipino market in Springfield. Shout out to the Filipino market here in Springfield. And they do sell a lot of that.
Awesome.
So we're never
Wow.
homesick now. We have
Yes.
everything we need here.
Yes, absolutely. I've learned a lot about the Philippines and
Oh,
culture,
thank you.
your homeland, and your journey, what's most importantly.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for visiting me today. I enjoyed learning about your trip
Thank
to
you.
America and American Dream. And how to say goodbye?
Paalam.
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 Paalam. Thanks for tuning into the American Dream podcast. For more episodes, subscribe on your favorite platform. Keep dreaming and see you next time.